Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Troy, your host. We are live and recording.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin our meeting today, I'd like to do our invocation. We normally have a pastor here, which we appreciate, but in lieu of that, we'll have a moment of silence. If you'll bow your heads. Okay, thank you very much. So it is Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, and I will call this meeting of our Board of County Commissioners to order. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Attorney Garcia, do we have any, do you want to certify the agenda for today?
I can. The County Attorney's Office has reviewed the agenda, and all items are on it are been properly notified and are under your jurisdiction.
Thank you. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
I have none, thank you.
No, sir.
And I have none either. With that, we'll move to item 2A, ceremonies and proclamations, and I'm incredibly honored to read out today's resolution under 2A. It's a resolution recognizing the 35th anniversary of the Douglas Land Conservancy. Dan Dirts presenting for staff. Dan?
Commissioners, Dan Dirts for Douglas County Open Space Natural Resource staff. Today I have the privilege of starting the celebration of Douglas Land Conservancy's 35 years. So with that, I have Alan Clark, I'm sorry, the chair for Douglas Land Conservancy, and Laura Sanford, the executive director. And I have Mary Ann Manzani with staff. She is going to give the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Dan. Commissioners, good afternoon. I'm Mary Ann Manzani with Open Space and Natural Resources. And as Dan mentioned, we're here today to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Douglas Land Conservancy as a valued member of our community and a valued partner. That partnership began with the open space sales tax that was adopted back in 1994. And since that time, Douglas Land Conservancy and Douglas County have partnered together to preserve 22 open space properties that equal over 16,000 acres of preserved space. Some of those open space properties are ones that probably a lot of us are familiar with and have hiked. Spruce Mountain, Lincoln Mountain, Greenland Open Space, Glendale Dog Park, and Sandstone Ranch. Those open space properties and the work that was done together to conserve those properties put forward the mission of responsible stewardship of conserved land in Douglas County. Almost equally as important was the premise of getting our people out to visit these properties. And how were we going to do that? Well, Douglas Land Conservancy very successfully established a outreach program and a volunteer program. Since the inception of Douglas Land Conservancy 35 years ago, they have averaged approximately 75 programs to get those people out to open space properties every year. They also have a very robust volunteer program that consists of over 150 active members. Those two areas is where that partnership comes together. We share a lot of the same programs, we sponsor a lot of the same programs together, and of those 150 active members, a great majority of them are members for not only Douglas Land Conservancy, but Douglas County Open Space. And it's really that history and that partnership to put forward the mission of that responsible stewardship and really connect people to our open space properties is why we're here and why today is so special. With that, as you mentioned, Chair, I do have a resolution. If you care to, I can read it into the record.
That would be great, Mary Ann. Thank you.
Perfect. The Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, Colorado, a resolution recognizing the 35th anniversary of Douglas Land Conservancy. Whereas conservation of open space is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Douglas County, Colorado, and whereas conservation of open space promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near conserved open space, and whereas conservation of open space provides opportunities for passive recreation, including hiking, biking, equestrian use, and other activities designed to promote active and healthy lifestyles, and whereas conservation of open space provides for the protection of natural resources and the historic and cultural heritage of Douglas County, and whereas conservation of open space and protection of the scenic viewsheds and natural and historic resources increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas land trusts are an integral part of the conservation of open space and promoting and providing the aforementioned benefits to the citizens of Douglas County, and whereas Douglas County is a land trust dedicated to the protection and conservation of open space in Douglas County, and whereas Douglas Land Conservancy is a valued partner whose purpose and mission align with the Douglas County's Board's priority to practice and promote responsible stewardship of historic and natural resources, and whereas the Douglas Board of County Commissioners recognizes the value of such partners and supports and recognizes the successes, achievements, and the milestones of such partners. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners for the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, hereby recognizes the 35th anniversary of Douglas Land Conservancy and passed and adopted this, hopefully, 11th day of July 2023.
Mary Ann, thank you so much. And you gave us far too much credit in the third recital from the end. You said Douglas County, and it's the Douglas Land Conservancy. I just want to
I'm so
clarify.
sorry.
Well, I didn't want to take credit for what the Douglas Land Conservancy does. They're the land trust dedicated to the protection and conservation of open space in Douglas County. You bet. Thank you. No, that was otherwise perfect. Let me give it an opportunity for our board to make any comments.
Well, I think this is a wonderful anniversary, 35 years. I think it was maybe 2009 when I first reached out to Patty Hostetler and learned about who you were, and I've been coming to your events, many of your events, whether they've been in Castle Rock or in Parker or at the JA Ranch. And what I have found is that each and every one of you sitting in these front two rows that support the Douglas County Land Conservancy have it in your heart, it's probably in your DNA, to support the land stewardship of this beautiful county and being partners with the county to ensure that I think it's 80% of our population lives on the 19% of our land on the northern periphery. And about 48% of our county is preserved, never to be built on. And so when I hear people saying, we've got too much growth, I think we need to understand the balance of what Douglas Land Conservancy has done with the county to ensure that we save land forever for our kids and grandkids. So thank you for being here. And I just talked to Laura about the next JA Ranch dinner. I went to buy tickets this weekend and found out I couldn't. I have to wait till July 24th. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you at that great event. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
Thank you, Chair. Serving on several boards around the region, the Denver region, over and over again, I hear the tale of woe of our colleagues, whether county or municipal elected leadership, talking about the struggles they have to preserve areas of open space, areas of wilderness in some instances, and all the difficulties they have. And there's a part of me that always thinks, well, you're starting now. You know, it's just now occurring to you guys to do this. And obviously, it was the commitment made by the residents of Douglas County back in the 90s that preserving these areas of our county that were not developed and thankfully now are probably never going to be developed. They will always be there preserved in that, you know, very rustic, rural, perhaps even wilderness state, that it is what makes us a special place. It's the part that makes us the place where Denver becomes Colorado again. And so now, at that said, and I can pull anybody off the street here in Castle Rock. I'm sure I could go to Parker, any one of our municipalities, where again, as my colleague pointed out, the majority of our population now live, and they'll say, yeah, they appreciate it, but we've created this environment where it's almost like breathing for our residents, to have these open spaces, to have these areas that are preserved. And it's not, is it? It does take work. It does take effort. So I appreciate it, guys, because whether you know it or not, I mean, your neighbors count on you. Your neighbors count on you on the Land Conservancy to do this work, to take these ideas and make them real. So I appreciate it. I'm oh so happy to see this resolution before us today so that we can continue to affirm, moving forward, this generational tradition and policy we have had to preserve those spaces to where the footsteps tread lightly.
Well, that was just beautiful, Commissioner Teal. I always try to be very eloquent. I just heard where Denver becomes Colorado again. That might be a bumper sticker or a motto
Tell
somewhere.
your friends.
I will. I'll tell more than a couple.
That's a good one.
You know, I'm a fifth generation Coloradan, and so for me, being a Coloradan comes first, and it's not just talk for me. The mural right behind my office, right behind my chair, is of J.A. Ranch, and one of the most amazing things for me in becoming a commissioner was seeing the commitment of the Land Conservancy and open space and all of our friends and partners to preserving what makes Douglas County great. In our travels, we get to talk to people locally, statewide, and nationally about how Douglas County with the Pike National Forest is 50% open space, which is really one of the great reasons why so many are choosing to make Douglas County their home. So it's an incredible honor for me to just say thank you to each of you, your service over so many years. This is the least we can do today. Looking forward to attending your event later this summer as well, and we're just really excited to continue our partnership. So with that, let me open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment? And I imagine there may be members of the Land Conservancy that might want to share with us.
Alan?
Afternoon. I'm Alan Clark, President of the Board of Directors for Douglas Land Conservancy. Douglas County and the Douglas County Conservancy have a long history of collaborating to preserve and maintain open spaces in the county for the benefit and enjoyment of county residents and visitors. Special places such as Sandstone Ranch, Spruce Mountain, and Dawson Butte open spaces preserve the natural beauty of Douglas County, provide unparalleled recreational opportunities, and greatly enhance the quality of life for all of us, as well as maintain critical habitat for native fauna and flora. And these open spaces come with the assurance that they will be there for generations far into the future to enjoy as well. I'd like to thank the county commissioners for their leadership and ongoing commitment to providing county residents opportunities to enjoy natural outdoor places of such beauty. We look forward to continuing our important partnership to preserve many more special places for the benefit of county residents, ensuring that Douglas County will continue to be one of the most enjoyable, beautiful, and desirable places in the entire United States to live and raise our families.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, I'm Laura Sanford. I'm the new Executive Director of Douglas Land Conservancy. Today is actually my one-year anniversary at Douglas Land Conservancy. It's also my one-year anniversary of working and playing here in Douglas County. There's nothing that I find more enjoyable than filling up my Jeep and heading out for an adventure in Douglas County. It's just a fabulous place. The open spaces provide such wonderful assets to the families and communities that live here. Areas of public access always seem to be utilized and enjoyed. As someone who came in here recently, excuse me, I am impressed with the county's conservation efforts and partnerships. Douglas County commissioners, staff, and dedicated volunteers have shown great foresight with their land conservation efforts over the years. Thank you for making open spaces available for access, recreation, and tourism. By working together, DLC and Douglas County have created a stronger product, our conservation community here in Douglas County. I hope we can continue to partner and to provide meaningful outdoor experiences for the residents of Douglas County. Thank you very much for all that you do for us.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for your leadership, and congrats on your anniversary, too.
Thank you.
Any additional citizen comment?
Since we have so many folks in attendance from DLC, would it be okay to take a picture with the board today?
Absolutely. I think what we'll do, hopefully this resolution will pass today. I think we'll try to recognize each of you. I think you hear the enthusiasm, so there's probably little doubt. We'll close out citizen comment and do that in a moment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dan. Any additional citizen comment either in the room or online?
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner. I have no online comment.
You know, I think we do have a comment from the gallery. Yes, ma'am. And if you want to just approach the podium and state your name and where you're from for the record, please.
I'm sorry, I saw that the citizen comment was at the end of this meeting. Thank you for all that you guys do. Great to be here for that.
Oh, and ma'am, citizen comment is scheduled on the agenda for the end of the meeting. So if you wanted to comment about the resolution, you're welcome to.
That's why I was confused.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me, I'm over 60 now, so it gets...
Listen, I appreciate it. Everybody's living to 105, so you're a spring chicken, I hope. Okay, great. So no additional citizen comment. I'll go ahead and close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or motion.
Well, obviously, I expressed my enthusiasm. I think you guys do, the members of the Conservancy Board who are here. Again, thank you all for everything you do. We are counting on you. Keep at it. Days may get long. The work may get hard. I can assure you your neighbors appreciate it. And so if it does please the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution recognizing the 35th anniversary of the Douglas Land Conservancy.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes 3-0. If you'll all stand and be recognized. So at this time, if you want to join us up front, we'll take a photo. That's why I don't like cursing, because I just, especially with
Ready? I'm going to take several. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations on a year. I hope we get 35 years with you. Thank you so much. Bye. Thanks for being here. You too. Thanks for being here. Yeah, take care. Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much for that. So as our Land Conservancy is making their way out, we'll move on to item 3 on our business meeting agenda for today, and that is our consent agenda. I will ask if there's any citizen comment with regard to any item on our consent agenda. Troy, do we have any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion and/or a motion.
So I'd like to know if it's possible to pull M and N for some discussion and have Dan Roberts come forward and talk about M and N. I think that they are very important, and I think it's important for the citizens to know how these expenditures came about.
I would be pleased to do that. So we'll go ahead and pull M and N from our consent agenda and call up Mr. Roberts to share a little bit more about the tornado cleanup.
Hi, my name is Dan Roberts. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works for Operations. Here to talk about 2 emergency contracts. So I'm going to go back to February 27th when the commissioners hosted an event where we brought staff from Boulder County down and talked about their response to wildfire event. And the outcome of that discussion was that Public Works was charged with a review of our debris management plan. And in our review, we actually discovered that we needed to update the portion about contracting during an event like a wildfire. And we had planned a tabletop event, and we updated our plan, which we actually are going to bring to the board at the next board meeting, that updated plan. Little did we know that we were going to get a chance to not do a tabletop, but actually implement that plan when a tornado hit in Highlands Ranch on June 22nd. So because of that preparation, we were able to mobilize contractor forces within 2 days of when that tornado hit. So it hit in the evening of the 22nd. We began doing assessment with our staff on June 23rd. And on Saturday, June 24th, we were able to mobilize 2 contractors that we actually had under contract already doing sidewalk repair projects in Highlands Ranch. So they had crews and resources available in the area. So we were able to mobilize 6 contractor crews 2 days after that event started to assist our workforces. And in a little bit over a week and a half, we had the major part of the debris from that storm, the tree debris, cleaned up and out of the way. And we've continued to engage those contractors until this last Friday, and then one of those contractors, we ended that work effort, and we're continuing to engage the second contractor for the next couple weeks as we finish cleanup for the storm. So we have 5 other contractors that are working, but they're working on smaller contracts. So what we're presenting to the board today are 2 larger contracts that will exceed $100,000, and in fact have retroactively, they've been working on these contracts for a while already. So this is a retroactive approval of these 2 contracts that exceed $100,000. The first one is $850,000, and that includes an estimate of additional work, so we haven't expended that much yet. To Chado's Concrete. That was the larger effort of the 2 contracts. And a second contract in the amount of $575,000 RG Landscaping. And this is a contractor that we'll continue to use as we finish up the debris collection. So between the two of these contractors, they've exceeded 1,300 semi-truck loads of debris hauled out of Highlands Ranch. So they go out and they pick it up, load it in the trucks, and take it to a debris staging area. So they've been a significant part of our overall work effort. Probably about 50% of the loads that have been hauled out of Highlands Ranch by Douglas County forces have been done by those two contractors. So that's the essence of these two contracts. Appreciate your consideration in approving those contracts today. I'll open that up to any questions you may have.
And thank you for sharing that with us. Let me open it up to the board for any questions or comments of staff.
So Dan, I would just like to thank you, Janet, and all of your staff. You organized, you quickly got the Griggs Road site ready to go. You had, I don't know, over 2,000, 2,500 volunteers show up. You didn't let bureaucracy get in the way. And that's why I asked the board to pull these from the consent agenda and talk about them, because this is how Douglas County does business. We don't get behind bureaucracy and wring our hands and say, oh, geez, we can't do that. We just get it done. Last night when I was at the Parks Advisory Board, stopped in to say hi, and one of the members there from Highlands Ranch said, I cannot believe that there are trucks going up and down streets in Highlands Ranch collecting tree debris. I am so proud to live in Douglas County. And that's what I want you to hear, and I want you to tell that to all your staff. Because like many of us, I was at Highlands Heritage Park, and people were burned to a crisp, right, Steve? and yet they were still out there directing trucks and helping people. And I am just so proud of how Douglas County responded to this disaster. And I wanted you to stand up and hear this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
Again, kudos. Great job. And, I mean, I remember being on that very first end-of-day call, and we were white on rice. I mean, and I was very impressed. And I need a little bit kudos to go to the highest levels of county staff as well, because I really felt like we came together as a county very rapidly to address, again, going back to the fortuitous seminar with the Boulder staff, of them talking about, you know, the debris cleanup that they continued to live through a year after the Marshall Fire. And so knowing that we got our act together so quick, jumped on it. And, you know, listen, Dad, I think you deserve a great deal of the congratulations as well personally, because you know, we didn't take that first weekend off, did we? We worked right through it. So I don't know. It makes me feel very glad and very proud to be here in Douglas County, knowing all the work that you guys have done. So well done. I'm probably even going to approve the contract even.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. And I know as a board, we're planning to recognize all of those that served so well and significantly through the tornado disaster. So that will be to come, but certainly appreciate my colleague pulling this from the agenda today to specifically recognize you and your department, Dan. Without that quick work and efficiency, who knows where we would have been. I want to acknowledge my colleague too, and he gets tired of it, but you need to quit doing so many good things, George. I was en route back from Cambridge, and it was so nice to know that the acting chair of Douglas County Board of County Commissioners, George Teal, had things under control. And so we had a lot of talks and conversations. I talked a lot with our county manager, and that was very well orchestrated and organized, ensuring that all departments and our local residents were being served efficiently. I also know that we would not have a debris management program in place had it not been for his foresight to think about having Boulder County up to talk about, disaster relief and what that looks like in our community. We know that a lot of those after the Marshall Fire were wringing their hands and not sure what to do or how to respond. But for us, I would agree with Commissioner Thomas. We don't wait to do great. We want to get ahead of disasters and be prepared. And then when they do strike, and they do, to act nimbly and appropriately and efficiently for our citizens. And that's exactly what you did. So thank you, Dan. And I will not say in advance whether I'm going to approve these contracts, but I think you hear the encouragement from us. So let me ask if there's any additional citizen comment on items M and N which have been pulled from the consent agenda. Any other citizen comment? Troy, do we have any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, with that, I'll close citizen comment and give the board an opportunity to make a motion on items M and N from the consent agenda, which have been pulled.
I'll make a motion to approve items M and N of the consent agenda.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes 3-0. Congrats, Dan. Thank you very much. So just going back to our consent agenda, we have taken public comment already, and that has been closed. I will ask for a motion on the remainder of the consent agenda.
Well, if I remember my ABCs correctly, I'm happy to make a motion to approve the request for all items A through L on the consent agenda.
Second.
So there's a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. So with that, we'll move on to item 4, which is our regular agenda. And the first item is item 4A, a contract with the Colorado Department of Human Services Behavioral Health Administration for the Children, Youth, and Family Behavioral Health Services Grant Program funding the research, design, implementation, and staffing of a youth care compact in the amount of $246,745.25. Laura Cinconi, the Mental Health Initiative Coordinator, presenting for staff. Hi, Laura.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Laura Cinconi presenting for staff. So we'll begin with a bit of background on this legislation. Colorado legislators made $450 million in behavioral health investments. This is of COVID recovery funding. Based on the 2021 recommendations of the Behavioral Health Transformational Task Force, which Commissioner Thomas was a part of. And these recommendations resulted in the passage of 20 bills, one of which is House Bill 22-1281. This bill established the Behavioral Healthcare Continuum GAP grant program and gave the authority to the new Behavioral Health Administration to oversee the various grants within this program. The bill designated $90 million for behavioral health programming across 3 different grants, one for community investments in GAPs, one for the Children, Youth, and Family Grant, and another for substance use workforce stability. Today we'll be talking about one of the grants that the county has received under the Child, Youth, and Family category to establish a youth care compact. However, I do also want to point out that the county has been notified of the state's intent to award 2 additional grants, another grant under the Child, Youth, and Family subcategory, and one under the Community Investment Grant. As mentioned, the award before you today, if approved, would establish a youth care compact, which would build upon the care compact model for adults that's been operating in the county since December of 2020. The Youth Care Compact will be a resource for young people and their families with multiple behavioral and health care and social determinant of health needs, where coordination of multiple healthcare services and socioeconomic resources can reduce the duplication of service, reduce the likelihood that youth and families fall through the cracks while attempting to receive help, and improve quality of life outcomes. The award and contract before you today is for state fiscal year 23-24, which is for $246,745.25. The state required a 5% match We are nearly double that, around 10%, and we'll be using a match of half of a CRT resource specialist, formerly known as a case manager, to support the Youth Care Compact, as well as some funding that the county already dedicates to the Gelota software system. And the timeline for this contract will end at the end of state fiscal year 23-24, and we'll return with a second contract for state fiscal year 24-25. So on the slide, we have listed the various components of this award. I want to highlight that the Youth Care Compact Navigator will be a limited benefit temporary position. Will be funded by this grant, and we also have other funding sources that can extend this position beyond the end of the grant to include the American Rescue Plan Act funding that the commissioners have dedicated for behavioral health, as well as our Representative Crow funding the Congressional Directive Spending Grant. We'll also be contracting with a consultant to assist with the design and implementation and evaluation of the program. We plan to have a stakeholder component as well, so engaging youth and families in the design and what this program will actually look like when it's been implemented. Leandra found an excellent care coordination training that has been designed specifically for multidisciplinary groups that work together in case management, so we'll bring our partners together for that training. I mentioned that we'll have CRT dedicated case management support specifically for the Youth Care Compact. We'll be onboarding additional partner agencies and expanding our use of Gelota with this grant. And we're also looking to bring on a parent liaison, so a position that would be specifically working closely with families and bringing their voice to the table throughout the Youth Care Compact. So this graphic might be familiar to all of you. We've used it before with our adult program, but we see the Youth Care Compact as being of a similar philosophy as our current care compact, where we're using wraparound support from multiple coordinated case management programs to deliver care and assistance to families. The addition is the partners listed in the upper right-hand corner who we've either already engaged and put this on their radar or plan to engage. This concept has broad support from our community partners. And as mentioned, we have other funding streams that can support the Youth Care Compact as well. And with that, the recommendation in front of the board today is to approve the contract with the Colorado Department of Human Services Behavioral Health Administration in the amount of $246,745.25 for research, design, implementation, and staffing of a Youth Care Compact. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Laura, thank you so much for that. Any questions for staff?
You know, Laura, you have done such a great job. Barbara has done a great job getting so many grants for us. And when I served on that interim committee that Senator Holbert put me on, along with Commissioner Byron Pelton, we fought hard for that $90 million to be used for the local governments to be able to serve our communities, because who knows local government better than their needs than we? And you have really stepped up. I really like this parent liaison piece, and this is just such a great opportunity to get kids in the beginning when they need help, so they don't go for years and years, and it takes so much more time to help them get well. Thank you for all the great work you've done on this. I'm just amazed at the progress that has happened on the youth initiative since the first CRT was launched in May of 2017. So thank you. This is a great project.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do. So Laura, I appreciate us popping up this slide again. So these bullet points, is this kind of really our roadmap for implementing this grant?
That's right. These are all the components that are funded by the grant. And they represent kind of the core needs that we've recognized in operating the CARE Compact for the last almost 3 years. And I have to give Leandra a lot of credit for informing what we wrote into this grant. It's important that we have a navigator that's dedicated to this program because the youth service world is so different from the adult service world. So this position can act as that leader in the day-to-day operations of the program and the expansion over time. Consultation, for us, making sure that we have that subject matter expertise that can look into the different youth services present in Colorado, looking at best practices across the country as far as care navigation is really important. We've done great work so far with National Alliance on Mental Illness, Arapahoe, Douglas counties, or NAMI, in some stakeholder engagement and really find that valuable. So this list represents different components of program development, but also the integrity of implementation and evaluation that we found have been really effective in other programs of the Mental Health Initiative.
So are these sequential milestones or not necessarily in this sequence?
Not necessarily in this sequence.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't have any additional questions, but just kudos and compliments for the ongoing significant work in this space. I think year over year, we just continue to see great return on investment for those we serve. So thank you for that. Yes, our county manager.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just before we have a vote, and Ms. Cinconi mentioned this, but every time Barbara or Laura or Maggie talks about the program, one of their heroes who's here is Leandra Montoya. We don't have the pleasure of seeing Leandra all that often, but I thought, Barbara, if you wouldn't mind talking just a little bit about Leandra and why she is such a superstar. I'd hate to, and this is part of her, and please fill as well, Laura.
Thank you, Mr. DeBoard. Barbara?
Thank you, Barbara Drake for staff. Leandra, I don't know if you want to come up here or not, but so Leandra worked under a contract for Dr. Brofield for many years as a mental health navigator working with the county attorney's office around inpatient and outpatient mental health holds, and just earned her stripes working with John Thurkel. And she's also highly educated, has great background in this area, including in forensic psychology. And when we were able to open this position up for the CARE Compact Navigator, when we first started the program for adults, we just saw and we knew that the CRT wasn't enough, that was dealing with emergency folks, and that what was happening is some of the most people with most complex mental health issues, often substance abuse issues, sometimes IDD coupled with that, we're sort of cycling through the system still. And so Leandra really helped create that program for us and became our first and our still navigator for the adult program, and just brings a wealth of experience and expertise, and isn't afraid to roll up her sleeves and go out and meet with individuals and do crisis intervention for families. And she just knows the system really well, and she's done an extraordinary job of not only working with all the leaders in all the organizations that we partner with, and I think you've seen these lists before. It's really everybody who serves adults, and in this case, we've brought in now child providers, Children's Hospital and the Youth Initiative and all that. So she's done a terrific job of not only relating to individuals and the struggles that they have, but also sort of bringing all these partners together to step up to the plate. And the whole premise of this, the CARE Compact, is getting to yes. In other words, all these organizations that come together, they don't have boundaries where they say that person's no longer eligible for our services. We're going to figure it out among all of us, and we're not going to let people fall off the cliff. And Leandra's been masterful at doing that. So she is a gift to this program, and we're so glad that she is with us and running this program and is going to be instrumental in the implementation of the Youth Care Compact. So Laura, do you want to add anything to that?
I'll join my tribe up here. I've had the pleasure of working with Leandra since 2017. So I was a pretty fresh county employee at the time, and Leandra was, I think, our first or second CRT case manager, and then moved into the navigator position. I mean, outside of being just an outstanding human being with a wonderful sense of humor, that, you know, we need, our work can be tough, and it's so appreciated to have colleagues who bring that attitude to the table. She is smart as a whip, highly, dependable. I don't know everything, and I run to her for help all the time. It has just been an absolute pleasure. She's a total rock star, and have enjoyed every moment working with her.
Well, wow. It's always significant when our county manager and our deputy county manager and one of our directors steps up to the plate to speak so highly of someone in our employ. Leandra, did you want to say anything? I think you almost have to at this point. Wow.
I can't stay silent. Well, thank you all so much. Was not expecting this at all. It's been really such an honor to be in this position and have the opportunity to work with all of the incredible county employees at Douglas County, but also the partners who've really gone above and beyond to serve some of the most vulnerable folks in our community. And I hear all the time from our partners how exceptional Douglas County is in prioritizing mental health and really being innovative to support these individuals and to think about crisis and chronic mental illness in a different way and really tackle those issues in such a collaborative and relationship-focused kind of way. And so I'm just incredibly honored to be in this position, to see it expand beyond the Adult Care Compact to serve families and youth, because as we all know, that's an incredibly complex space as well, with all of the systems and different things involved for youth. And so I'm just so thankful, and without Barbara and Laura's leadership, I mean, absolutely would not have come to fruition for the Care Compact in general, but also expanding beyond that, and with all of these incredible opportunities through these grants to make such great strides and to have Douglas County truly be a model for other counties in the state, but also other states as well. I think we're getting more and more recognition in that regard. So just huge kudos to all of you, and thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Leandra. How about a big round of applause for Leandra? Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but you're just incredibly special, so thank you. So with that, let me just ask if there's any additional comment either in person or online with regard to this item.
Commissioner, I have no online comment.
Okay, with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
I have a motion to approve a contract with the Colorado Department of Human Services, Behavioral Health Administration for the Children, Youth, and Family Behavioral Health Services Grant Program funding, the research, design, implementation, and staffing of a youth care compact in the amount of $246,745.25.
Yeah, I've been critical about this work being done by government in the past, and sometimes I'm still critical, because I always hear a lot of talk, and then I don't see measurable action. Before I got here, it was obvious the county cracked the code. We did the work. We not only did the talk, but we walked the walk. We got action. It's measurable. Therefore, I second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries 3-0. Congratulations. And with that, we'll move to item 4B on our regular agenda, which is a construction contract for the Quebec-Lincoln University intersection and signal reconstruction project to Villalobos Concrete Incorporated in the amount of $6,628,656.16 for Douglas County project number CI 2020-002, fiscal year 2023. Brian Schultz, Engineering Construction Manager, presenting for staff.
I'm up here with Brian today because Brian recently was promoted from an Inspector 4 to an Engineering Construction Manager, and I did want to put him on the spot by making him present this project all by himself. Brian's a 23-year employee of Douglas County, and he's the best guy we've got to put on this project, and you'll see as we go through the project why that's the case. So I want to just do a quick presentation about the project. So this is a map of Highlands Ranch. This year and next year we have a total of 11 large projects, about $60 million investment in transportation projects in Highlands Ranch. And this project, the Quebec Lincoln University project, is shown by the blue diamond on the map. So this is just a brief overview of the project. We'll go into detail, and you'll be able to see why we need to reconstruct this project and what the schedule looks like. So the concrete roads in Highlands Ranch, a lot of them are getting pretty old, and this is one of the worst spots in Highlands Ranch. This is one of the busiest intersections in the ranch, intersection of two major roadways. It borders on the east side, Lone Tree, on the south side. You come up from Castle Pines, so it's a critical intersection in the county. The concrete's been deteriorating for a while. We did a large grinding project throughout the ranch several years back. Brian was actually involved in that. And we skipped this intersection because the pavement was in such bad shape that we knew that we needed to eventually rebuild it. So as we formulated the plan for this project beginning 3 years ago, we also made the decision to rebuild the traffic signal at the same time. So I'm going to show you the limits of the project. It's actually much bigger than just an intersection. It's a block each way, so it's about a half mile east to west, not quite that long north to south, so a pretty significant reconstruction project. This is a view looking sort of to the southeast. That's the post office facility. So you can see how large the roadway is. Both roadways, or all four legs of the roadway. And then an overhead area, you can see how bad the concrete pavement is in the middle of that intersection. So it's a timely project. And sort of the best thing about having it being in such bad shape is that people are ready for the disruption of the construction. So this is the future intersection. It's very close to what we have out there today. We knew that we didn't have the funds to go buy houses to expand the right-of-way, so we started out with the goal of doing all the improvements we could within the existing footprint. So from a capacity standpoint, what we're able to do is we're able to add a westbound through lane that adds capacity. We're able to add the eastbound through lane that's right now a right turn lane. It'll be a through right, so that adds capacity. And then southbound to westbound, the labeled number 3 and number 4, we're adding a second turn lane, and there will be a signal on that separated turn movement. So those 3 additions to the capacity will improve the capacity of the intersection quite substantially within the existing footprint of the roadway as it exists today. So upon completion, we'll improve the travel time and reduce the delay time for most of the drivers through the intersection. So overall, intersection expects to improve travel times by 30 seconds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add that up over all the cars that go through this in 20 years, that equates to over 1.1 million hours of saved time in the intersection. So there are some trade-offs. Those extra lanes we're talking about, they exist today, but they might just have a single movement. So there will be some turn movements where you have some additional delay, but overall there's cost saving or time savings of our traveling public. So the way the funding is structured, this total project cost is a little bit over $12 million. 100% of that funding is Douglas County. We don't have any partners on this. Most of that funding is coming from our pavement management program. A portion of it is coming from our signal funding program. So we're going to use our incremental encumbrance process with this. The benefit of that is we get to accelerate the start of construction on this project. We don't have to wait till we have all the money in the bank to get started. So with our current construction inflation that we're seeing between 5 and 10%, by utilizing that incremental encumbrance process, we estimate we'll save between $600,000 and $1.2 million on the cost of this project by being able to get an early start on it. So in 2023, the funding, Business Unit 800-100 is our pavement management funding. It's a little bit over $5.9 million, and then Fund 230, Business Unit 800-833 is our traffic signal. So that's the cost of the signal portion of the project. So total funding for this project in 2023 will be $6,628,656.16. Planned in 24 out of our pavement management is the remainder of the project funding at a little bit over $5.4 million, which will be presented to the board next year. We plan on beginning construction actually next Monday. There'll be a startup period, but within 3 or 4 days, you'll see actual construction in the project. We'll get a start on the project, probably about halfway done, and then we'll shut the project down for the winter, November 9th, and then open it back up March 4th. That way it's not open during our holiday season. And then planned construction completion date is September 13th of next year. So we did a study as part of the planning of this to make sure that we didn't have a huge impact on the traffic in Highlands Ranch or in the surrounding communities when we built it, and we came up with a plan where we actually are going to have 8 different phases of construction. And the reason there's so many phases is we're going to minimize how many lanes we close at a given time in order to keep the delay to less than 5 minutes during construction for those when we have that phase under construction. So generally, drivers should only experience a minute or 2 delay. In certain directions, when we do have closed lanes, there may be up to 5 additional minutes of delay. We also have a pretty significant campaign that we're getting ready to kick off to encourage people to take alternate routes. The challenge is there's not a lot of alternate routes for this intersection. So I've developed a communications plan working with Caroline and the Wendy's communication team. We've actually engaged a consultant to help us on this project and some of our other projects because the impact is so big in that area of the county. And so you can read our goals there are really to just make sure that we communicate well with the public so they know what's going on. Because if they know what's going on, then they know whether or not they should find an alternate route or they couldn't go ahead and take the time going through that area. So 4 key main points are we want to make sure that everybody understands we did study the phasing so that we can minimize the delay. Make sure you give yourself time. About every month, the traffic pattern will change, so we need to inform you of that. Make sure you're watching out for crews and not using your cell phone as you go through the construction zone. And then I want to encourage residents and commuters to sign up for our Cone Zone emails. So with that, I'm going to ask Brian to do the most important part and read the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon, Board, Chair. We would like to recommend the approval of a construction contract for the Quebec-Lincoln University intersection and signal reconstruction project to Villalobos Concrete Inc. in the amount of $6,628,656.16 for the Douglas County project number CI 2020002 for fiscal year 2023.
Great, thank you both so much. Any questions or comments for staff?
Well, I'm going to make a comment because I live about a half mile from this intersection and I go through it lots every day. and I have seen over time how it has continued to deteriorate. I think that you added a lane and did some major construction there maybe in 2016. Does that sound right, Dan?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, in 2016, you added a northbound to eastbound lane there. That really helped. But that intersection, and you guys go out there and patch it up, and then another chunk falls out, and I know my neighborhood and those who drive through there are looking forward to this. And if you notify us ahead of time, there are ways that we can figure out how to get around it. So thank you for everything you've done to make this a reality.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
No questions. Very important project. Good to see it going.
Yeah, I will echo my colleagues' comments. Gosh, for the last couple of decades, I mean, I have gone through that intersection, used to live right up the street, and now we just burn that road back and forth between school and our house almost every day. So really a significant intersection, and I know many in our community will benefit from the modifications there, so thank you for that. If there's no additional board comment or questions, let me open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room with regard to this item? Okay, seeing none. Troy, do we have any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. And with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Please, the board, I do have a motion to approve the construction contract for the Quebec-Lincoln University intersection and signal reconstruction project to Villa Lobos Concrete Incorporated in the amount of $6,628,656.16 for Douglas County project number CI 2021-002 fiscal year 2023.
And let me just clarify, did you say 2020 or 2021?
Please, I have the project number CI 2020-002.
Okay.
Does that need to be 2021?
No, I think if that's what you said, then that is perfect. So we have a first on the floor.
Well, I definitely stand corrected if needed.
You probably did it right.
And I'll second that.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, you guys. Great project. So at this time, we'll move on to item 5 on our regular agenda, which is citizen comment, organization comments. At this time, you are welcome to comment about any topic other than what was scheduled on today's regular agenda. This is an opportunity to share your thoughts and ideas with us. If you would, just state your name and where you reside prior to making comments, and you will have up to 3 minutes. Commissioner comments, if any, will follow all citizen comments. Are there any citizen comments today? Welcome, and thank you for your patience with our agenda today.
A lot of great things happening in Douglas County, a lot to be proud of. And today I came to express my appreciation for the work that the commissioners do. And, you can really feel it in Douglas County that it's a special place, all the open spaces, etc. And I want to recognize, to start off with, Laura Thomas, because she is pragmatic and appears to have the interests of the county at heart. She understands the workings of the county and is mindful of conflicts that injure our community. She's wicked smart and willing to reach across the aisle, a rare and important commodity in our times, and that earns my respect. Abe Layden, to his credit, leads with his heart. His commitment to helping the unhoused is admirable, even in the face of an angry, hate the homeless mob who really wish they could carry pitchforks into the meeting. Abe kept his cool, shared his well thought out and kind plan to bring resources to Douglas County. Currently, Mr. Layden is endeavoring to create a bridge regarding our family-friendly, joyous Pride event next month. And I want to thank Abe for his attempts in bringing humanity to marginalized populations. Thank you very much. But, George, I'm worried about you, man. That George, on the other hand, is blindly loyal to only George Teal. His cultivation and contacts in water, gas, and oil, as well as the building industry, have assisted his rise to power. As he said in one of his first interviews during his commissioner run, he was asked, "Why are you running?" He made no mention of servant leadership or caring about the community. His reply, power. His morals, his bullying behavior are not compatible with the leadership we expect. George would not recognize good governance. He has spewed venom and hatred while professing to be a Christian. Hypocritical is the least of your faults. Apparently, you're following a religion that does not honor Jesus' words of inclusion. George, you've obstructed the other commissioners in helping to serve our community, and I would ask you to do better. But George, you've been in this game a long time, and I know you're reaching for that next brass ring, and that's all you can think about. Thank you, commissioners.
And ma'am, you did not state your name and where you're from for the record. I know who you are, but.
Katie Barrett, Castle Rock.
Okay, thank you very much. Any commissioner comment?
Katie, if I could just say, you have come here many times to address the board, and I appreciate your willingness to be involved and pay attention to what goes on in the community. And we had a nice conversation after the parade last week. Thank you.
Well, and I'll add a few comments to that as well. I appreciate you being here, Katie. I do. I know you're very active in being chair of the Democratic Party. We know where many of your viewpoints and positions lie, and we really appreciate you showing up and sharing those with us. I think our goal is to represent all citizens in Douglas County, ensure that we are behaving in a bipartisan manner. I just want to make some comments with regard to my colleague, because I don't think many people know him maybe as well as I've gotten to. So, I heard the comments, and I realize that public perception may be one thing, but I will tell you, I didn't know him very well before he came to the Board of County Commissioners. And I was pleasantly surprised that not only is he thoughtful, trustworthy, open-minded, and willing to really address issues that he doesn't always agree with, he's made it very productive in my role to be a county commissioner. You don't really have much power as a commissioner unless you have another vote. So we call it 2 and go. Hopefully it's 3 and go, but sometimes it's not. So it's really tough to get good things done. And when you talk about that homeless initiative, he wasn't real sure about that. And I don't want to speak for him, but because it was an anchor for me and a priority for me, he came alongside me and supported me in that, and I greatly appreciate it. So I've seen a lot of great things, and I guess I would turn it over to my colleague if he has any additional comments.
I guess we know who's running for re-election. Thank you, I appreciate the kind words.
Excuse me, Mr. Layton. I'm not the chair of the Democratic Party down here in Douglas County.
Oh, okay, I just.
That would be Angela Thomas.
Oh, got it. Okay, all right, sure.
Part of leadership.
Part of leadership. Forgive me for that. Thank you for clarifying. So with that, let me open it up for any additional citizen comment. Any additional citizen comment in the room? Okay, seeing none. Any citizen comment online?
And I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. And with that, I'll close citizen comment and move on to, and I'll ask if there's any additional commissioner comments after we get through other business in our county manager's report. Any other business for today? Okay. And for our county manager, Doug DeBoard, anything from the county manager's report? Okay. And with that, any additional commissioner comments?
If any of you don't read the county manager report, you're missing out. There are so many different things. I have 7 different pages I printed off that I was thinking about to talk about. I think I'm going to talk about the county fair. It starts in 2.5 weeks, starting with a concert on Friday, July 28th. We're going to have a concert, a drone show, and then another concert. It is going to be the kickoff of a great family event. So I urge you to go to the county's website, look up the county fair, and figure out if you want to come to the rodeo, if you want to come to the concerts, if you want to come to the farm to table event. There are so many. There's a barbecue, there's a car show, there's something for everybody. So I hope that you take the time to stop by in Castle Rock from July 28th until August 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
None today, thank you.
And none for me either. So the next business meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 25th, 2023 at 1:30. We're going to take about a 5-minute recess and then commence again with our land use meeting and public hearing. We are adjourned.